Like I said, guys, if anybody can tell you, a unique view on messaging and communication, it's Gary. And I cannot thank you enough. Dude, no words. No words. Thank you so much.
Hey everybody, sorry I'm a little late. So I'd love to go into as much Q&A as possible in this room. I think what I'll do is I'll spiel out a little bit of a thesis here, but then I think to bring the most value that we can in this environment, I think there's a lot of value in trying to do some engagement. I think it's kind of a misplay in a lot of conferences where a lot of this stuff you can see me talk about on YouTube if you're interested, but it's a tough situation to actually get face-to-face time. So I'm going to make this statement. The only thing I ever spend any of my time on in a world where I think that I stink at 99% of the things in the world, but have had a lot of success professionally, is predicated on this belief and this notion that I have that there's always these moments and times, always, where there's an arbitrage of what the market or the world thinks is the way to communicate versus the emerging way to do it. And it's happened from the radio to the television to everything on and on. Cable TV ad buying was a deal when the traditional TV buyers believed that nobody was watching cable when everybody knew there was. It's happening right now. Right now, and I'm sure in this wonderful company and like all the clients, and whether you're a small business or working with Fortune 500s or wherever in between, right now, anybody in this room, and I see a lot of familiar faces, know that the attention, which is the only thing that matters, by the way, let's just level it up real quick. Before you can tell me how great your sneakers are, your cooking is, your wine skills, no matter, before you can tell me how great you are, you need my attention, and then you have that back to tell me, and then the way you tell that converts whatever you're trying to accomplish. Nobody, I think, that is really paying attention to the space right now is confused in the fact that Instagram is the most important social network from an attention standpoint. It's at scale, and people are actually consuming those photos, right? Instagram is acting right now, November 2014, in a lot of ways that Facebook did in 2009. Now, the scales in Facebook, I think Facebook dark posts is the best advertising product in the market, but from an attention standpoint. Meanwhile, the consumers of buying ads on Instagram or making creative on Instagram, which are agencies, businesses, individual people in this room, are not spending their time in the channel because they can't quantify the ROI of 87 hearts, right? And so you have this disconnect that is always happening in time. It happened for me. The reason I was able, one of the core reasons I was able to build a family liquor store business from a $3 to a $60 million business was because in 2000, I bought Google AdWords for the word wine for 5 cents when everybody else either didn't know what Google AdWords was or debated its ROI. So while everybody debated the ROI or learned the education of Google AdWords, for those 2 years, I sold a lot of wine. And if you really take it back, for all the business historians in this room or geeks on business, go look at how much money specifically eBay and Amazon spent on Google AdWords in the early days of that platform, and you start understanding why they had some of the success they had going forward. And this happens with banner retargeting, and this happens with email marketing, and this happens with organic social media, which is what I would call Twitter 2006, 7, and 8. I moved quickly, I spent a lot of time, I popped out. People just thought they had to follow me back then because there was not a lot of people to follow. I took advantage of that collection of data and interest. I provided good quality content and didn't bore them and brought value, which allowed me to hold on to them, which gave me leverage. And then it got expensive. And then it got ruined. Let me say this, and I know a lot of you have heard me say this, but I know a lot of people haven't. Marketers ruin everything. It's what we do. Right now, I spend all my time trying to figure out how to ruin Snapchat and Shots and every other emerging Yik Yak and every other emerging platform that I'm paying attention to, because that's what I think my job is as a salesman, as a business operator. Move quickest, understand it best, extract as much value out of it because I know everybody else is going to get educated and come into it. And not only that, for a lot of you that know me, I even go out of my way to educate the rest of the market while I'm doing it. So I'm in theory ruining it because I want to provide value in two fronts, not only selfishly, but to the people that decide to watch the Ask Gary Vee show and now have become educated quicker than the market to understand the real conversion funnel on Facebook dark posts because they hear it out of my mouth every single day and I've gone and tested it and I get 50 emails a day of people like, holy crap, I'm selling more X because of this. And so it's just the same old game over and over, over and over. Every day I sit in rooms with Fortune 500 companies who are like, we need to be more like Uber and Birchbox and Chivoni and GoPro. And I'm like, that's easy. Just act like that. You got the money, but they don't because they respect something else. And so no matter what you do in this room, you're confined by two things. Money, right? Or the process. The tradition or the things that you've accepted. Your restriction is, well, I don't have the money to do this, right? I'm a single entrepreneur, I don't have the Facebook ad budget or the money to do the creative, right? That friction for the entrepreneurs in this room, and I see them. Or for the people that work at agency land or big brands, the rules, right? What are the KPIs for an Instagram photo? What's the ROI of that, right? And so I basically navigate my life in between those two things. As a one-time entrepreneur that didn't have money, realized that I just hustled harder and smarter and slowly just built up more and more and more and more and eventually had the leverage and then kind of moved on. And then number two, in the corporate environment, I just recognized that those, reporting and the modeling mix and all this stuff that people accept as straight horseshit. And I navigate through it and around it. And that's what I do for a living. I'm just playing the actual game that is going on versus the game that everybody's accepted. And I just keep trying to do that over and over. I did it for my wine business. It's the reason my agency, Vaynerchuk, has grown from 30 to 425 people in 3 years. I just know how to build businesses, and they're really based on a couple core principles. The people is the entire game. So retention of people matters. How do you keep people? You care more about them than you care about yourself. It's a really easy move. If you give 51% of the relationship to somebody else, you will always win forever if you're talented enough to know what to do with the other 49%. That's number one. And number two, do you have the right strategy, right? Do you understand? And so, again, for everybody in the room, and I think we have a hard stop, so I want to make as much value here as possible. If you don't know what I'm talking about, when I say Facebook dark posts, Google it. Watch the 8 billion videos that are probably made about how to do it or blog posts that are in detail. You can target every single person in the world at scale without wasting your money on guessing who you're reaching. You want to reach 24 to 27-year-old dudes that are into hip-hop and love Run DMC and live in Brooklyn? Good. I can do it tomorrow. And guess what? I know what to sell those guys because it's different than a 42-year-old female that lives in Iowa. And so this is what's going on. It's going to happen. The only reason I'm sharing it with you guys here right now is I want to be historically correct, which builds leverage for me with you, right? And I also know that only 5% of you are actually going to take action on what I'm telling you right now. And that's been a dirty little secret of why I share all my shit. Nobody does it, right? It's just insane to me. I've not figured that one out. Help me if you've got that one pegged. And that's it. And so that's what I'm spending time on.
We have some questions in the space of the event in Zula.
They're here?
They're here, and we'll take some from the audience as well.
Okay.
We'll just take it live.
If they're here, I can ask them questions digitally, but if they're here, I'll just rather answer it to their face. Yes, darling.
Hey Gary, what's up? I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, no, it's good to see you.
You too. You always stress family.
Yeah.
And I want to know how you make time between your two daughters, daughter and son, your wife, your brother, and the rest of the family, and then still keep your focus on everything you have to do. That's what I'd like to know.
Tremendous question. No question the thing that I struggle with the most. Work-life balance for all the hustlers in this room, you know how hard that is. When you're just on fire to accomplish what you want to selfishly in a world where you have all this other love and stuff. The real answer to your question is effort. right? I'm not crippled by tactics. So I think it's a religion, meaning when I used to try to like come home randomly on a Tuesday night real quick and bathe the kids, it was all tactical. And then I just kind of battered it up. So the way I'm doing it, to be honest with you, is extremism. So on the weekends, I'm fully into my family. I'm out. Like, you'll see the occasional tweets here and there because they're in the bath or they want to sleep. Like, I'll sneak it in, but I'm really, for the most part, 97% all in with that. Also, 2 years ago, I went from 2 weeks vacation to 7 weeks vacation, right? Which is unheard of. I mean, I feel like it should take my workaholic badge away just by taking that much vacation time. But I need to find the balance because the one thing, a lot of you here know me, but the ones that really, really, really know me, and I know a lot of you are watching the SKRD show now, and I showed it on my calendar, I literally work every other day than what I just told you, from 6 o'clock in the morning to midnight. I have an 11:30 p.m. dinner tonight, business dinner. So when I hear people like, who are in this room that don't have the money, and who love to claim to me that they hustle, and they're not working 17 hours a day, I just don't understand. I can't wrap up. Actually, you know, I hustle, and then I kind of like was crying about this, and I kind of just wanted to once for all like make an example out of somebody. I didn't do it, but I had somebody get on their account and look at everything. They're at baseball games at 7:30. They're like playing Madden. They're like going to the movie on Friday night. They're like watching they're commenting on some video series on YouTube. I consume jack shit. I know nothing about anything. You know why? Because I'm head down doing my thing. I don't watch fucking Game of Thrones. So listen, everybody here is more than entitled to live their lives the way they want to and should. And I don't preach the insanity that I live. It just comes natural to me. But I have zero patience to hear how, well, it's so hard, and like this and that, when you're watching, 40 straight seasons of Homeland. You know what I mean? So like, I just don't have patience for that. Like, you either have the money and you can use it smart, or you don't, and then the only thing you have is your time, it's your asset, it's your hustle, right? And like, too many people just truly don't understand how much work it really takes, right? Especially when you're unfortunate and you don't have the luxury of other people where you don't have the dollars. You've got to grind triple hard, right? And everybody's got issues. I get it. Like, everybody's got roadblocks. But people that focus on roadblocks lose. Period. Every time. Questions?
Hey,
Good to see you, man.
likewise. So you seem to have this pretty hefty dose of cynicism in your messaging. How do you keep it positive at the same time? Because a lot of cynics come across in a bad way. You always seem to leave a room happy and energetic. I'm sure you're going to say it every time.
You know what's funny? You just broke my heart. I actually feel that I have zero cynicism. I feel I'm obnoxiously optimistic, just practical as fuck. Right? And I think practicality.
That for cynicism.
I don't give a shit. Right? If you're confused, if somebody confuses what I talk about as cynicism over practicality, then I respect that, but that means they're a dope. That means they're not paying attention. That means they're headline reading. That means they haven't gone deep, and I respect that.
So what would your recommendation be for someone who seems to encounter that oftentimes?
Meaning you feel that people think that you're cynical?
Oh yeah, I know it. I know I am, but I
do
also
you think
feel
you're
like
cynical, or do you think you're practical?
I do, but I think there's a lot of practicality involved in it too. I mean, you look at the marketplace, you analyze it in your own way, and I hear a lot of comes out of your mouth, and I'm like, I sort of feel the same way, but I'm not telling that story the same way that you are.
For me, what I take a lot of pride in, so I think, again, looking around the room and seeing a lot of familiar faces, one of the reasons I started Vaynermedia was to remind them, so something weird happened with me. I, as a kid, built a $70 million business, right? Like, came in and did something. And then because my personality of being out there writing books, making videos, it kind of engulfed me, right? Like, the way people looked at me in 2011, 2010, 11, 12, I was a little weirded out by it. Because I was like, wait a minute, like, my personality is overshadowing my accomplishments. So in a weird way, as I knew that I enjoyed, like, it's insane how much I'm enjoying this right now, right? Like, I love interacting with people and talking this shit and like talking about it and seeing like, this is the best for me, right? To have the permission and the luxury that people actually take time out of their day and their lives to want to hear what you have to say, I think that's an honor and a responsibility. To make sure that I continue to have that right, I think it's important for me to actually be an executor as well. So what's helping me is for all the people that are cynical about me or my points of view, it's a lot of fun to point to your second business that you grew in 36 months to $50 million in sales. You know, success is a son of a bitch, right? You could say that the Kardashians suck, but when they start flashing the business and the money and the things, now you may not agree how they got there, and that's fine. But it's really, really hard. For me, the way I deal with it is by executing. Every time I execute, see, I know how this finishes up. I know how to execute. I know that I'm not an author or a pundit or a guru. I'm a businessman, right? And so that's going to give me air cover. You know, all of us, you included, have your own versions of what you feel. And by the way, that's for me, right? I built this second business for me. So I feel good about having that permission to talk. Not necessarily just to say, like, look what I've done again, to like, you know, I needed that for me to have the justification. I think you just, to answer your question flat out for what you're dealing with, I think you need to find what makes you feel good about the way you roll, and then just triple down on that, because then it gives you permission to be the communicator you are that you're talking about this stuff. Yeah, man.
Hi.
Hey, what's your name?
Sandy.
How are you?
From All Season.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. I have a question. You talk about, and I've read some of your posts and things like that. I've followed you a little bit. So you talk a lot about the moment, you know, living the moment, spending the money on the moment, on the products that are out there on the moment.
Yes.
You never think about what's going to happen. You never strategize. You never think.
I always strategize.
Okay, so, but you talk about not
I only
necessarily.
strategize.
You always strategize.
I only strategize.
Okay.
But finish your thought, because I want to see where you're going with it.
So, no, my thought is, if you're, today we're so fast moving.
Yes.
You know, in 2007, everything was a little slower. You
Yes.
were the first one.
Yes.
So everybody's on board with everything that's coming out.
I don't think so. How many people here are on? And don't, I'm just going to set you guys up because I'm weird as shit. If you raise your hand, I'm literally going to walk right up to you. I'm going to ask you to either show it to me on your phone or answer 3 viable questions about the platform. So don't bullshit me. How many people here are on shots? Raise your hand. So I don't think everybody's always, I think everybody's on Facebook, right? I think everybody's on Instagram, right? So
how do you take those next products like shots?
Great.
And how do you identify it? Why are you the first one to identify it? Nobody in the room has heard of it.
Because at 5:30 in the morning, when I wake up and take a crap, I take my phone and I look at the top 150 apps on the iTunes store. And then if I don't recognize one of them, I download it, and then I use it. See, the great thing that happened to me is I'm undereducated and I'm average, right? And so what that means is I'm the masses. And so when I play with products, I feel like the masses. And I have intuitive capabilities to figure it out and have had a better run on betting on the right things. I invested and thought Yo Bongo was going to change my life. I was wrong about that, right? You know, I invested heavily into social cam, believed in that. Now that worked out for me because then Vine came along and I learned a lot from social cam. So a couple things, because I think you asked some really good questions. Number one, I truly believe that the reason I'm ahead more often is because I put in the work. And I'm putting it into, you know, a lot of people come to me like, Gary, you talk about hustle and 18-hour days, but I work smart, right? And I'm like, that's great, Johnny, but I work hard and smart. Now what, fuckface? You know? So not only do I work hard, I like to think that I work smart. And then the other thing is that, you know, I think I have intuitive talent, right? Like, why is LeBron good? Some good DNA, right? And then you put in work. I think I have good consumer DNA. I'm a really good salesman, but not only tactical, back to your question that makes me smile, I'm very strategic, meaning everything I think about is the moment when the arbitrage shifts, right? So shots, right now, it's not at scale that matters. If I want to sell high-end bottle service in LA, I would use shots right now. For everything else, I wouldn't care. But I'm watching it because there's things going on there that are piquing my interest to where things are going. So I'm using it for IP strategy, and then I'm not using it for execution just yet because it's not at scale. But by the time these things like Instagram and Snapchat become at scale, for the people that follow me hardcore, they know I've been figuring it out for 18 months. So when it hits scale, I'm not just running to it because Ad Age or TechCrunch wrote about it. I'm running to it with real understanding of the platform. That's what I think, you know? And then, when I feel like it's declined, look, when I had 100,000 followers on Twitter, I could get a lot more people to do things with a tweet than I can now with 1.1 million. Because the arbitrage of the noise, got it? And so I'm always looking at that. I look at analytics, but I've won so much on intuition that I'm always going to veer a little bit more towards that. Please.
Since only 5% of what you say,
Yeah.
there's a few tips.
Facebook dark posts are the single best way to sell stuff right now. Because you spend no wasted dollars on reaching people you don't want to reach, right? Number 2, Pinterest, 6 months from now, if you're trying to reach the female demo with the upcoming ad product that will open up to all of you, is going to be remarkable. And the intent to buy on that platform is incredible, so I'd highly recommend doing that. Number 3, no matter that there's no metrics and the only way you can link out of it is by changing the URL in your profile, I would bet all in on Instagram for everybody here and figure out how to make it work for what you want to do. Those are 3 things that I can think of. I think when you wake up in the morning looking at the iTunes store and looking at the top 150 apps, and if you notice that Yik Yak's there for 99 days in a row, it might be worth you downloading and figuring out what the hell's going on there. Yeah. I want to get on this side too, I feel bad if we can do that after this dude. Hey man.
Hey, what's going on there? It's Josh. Me and my partner, we actually did, what you said, Facebook dark posting. I think it was yesterday that I got about 519 today likes.
Yep.
Most of that didn't story that I wanted to write about, so I appreciate it for finally executing the device. My question would be, how would you define professionalism today? Is it skills or is it delivery now?
Professionalism?
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I'm entitled to define professionalism. The way I think professionalism needs to be defined, I think it's very differently depicted. So I only respect the audience, right? I think professionalism means different things for, so for example, I was freaking out on the way here. We had a mix-up on timing. I proved to you on the email. So I was supposed to be here at 5:30, but I was still 5 minutes late, and I was freaking out because to me, professionalism is being on time. Some people think that's a big deal, some people don't think that's a big deal. Some people think professionalism is predicated on what clothes you wear. That would put me directly in the unprofessional category to many people, and that's fine, and I respect that. I don't get mad. I don't think people are old school or out of touch if they deem, some people would say that professionalism is not cursing. That would put me clearly not professional, right? And by the way, just because it's right for me, I don't disrespect when people are against the grain with me. So I think, much like I think about selling and like a lot of my strategies, I think the audience is always right. You may not like what game shows are, or the Kardashians, or what's in fashion right now, or what people are doing. You may not think that that's great, but the audience decides. That's what's great about capitalism, right? Like, they decide. And so for me, that's just kind of how, I just think of it backwards, you know what I mean?
So you look like Marilyn Manson, if you have the skills.
Or maybe not. Maybe somebody would say Marilyn Manson scares their kids and they don't care if he's the greatest singer of all time, fuck him. I don't know. I mean, it's just different for everybody. I think there's a critical mass to acceptance that defines success, and I think that's what matters.
You got a hard stop, so we're gonna take one more question.
Okay. For everybody who I can't answer a question for, I'm starting to do this new show called Ask Gary V. You can ask it, use the hashtag, and throw the answer on the show. Hey man. Good to see you. Failure. Yeah.
Everybody likes to talk about all their successes.
Yeah.
But I think that the crowd would really benefit from what you have to say about failure.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm obsessed with failure. I don't know if you guys heard, but I'm a diehard New York Jets fan. and look, I'm a much happier Jets fan today, right now, than I am a Yankees and Rangers fan, because those teams won for me. So I think a pure entrepreneur in its purest form actually not only accepts failure, weirdly likes it. To me, if I'm not failing, then I'm not trying. And I know that's a cliche thing. Like, I'll tell you where I always fail, and I might be in the midst of it right now. My normal move for failure is thinking I can do everything and biting off more than I can chew. In 2009, when I kind of started siphoning off the Blind Library, operations day to day, not only did I start VaynerMedia, but I wrote Crush It. I I started a company called Forest with a co-founder, which was a developer, designer, social network. I bought Corked from Dan Cedar Home, which is a wine social network. I just tried to do a lot of things. Obsessed TV, if you guys remember, I tried to do that whole thing. Like, I tried to do 6 things, and you know the classic things, if you're doing 6 things, you're doing 0 things, right? For the last 3 years, I went really head down, and the success of VaynerMedia is specific to the notion that I've been operating. Right now, with my new fund, I've started a couple of businesses where I'm a co-founder. So it's not just money, but my time and expertise needs it. Resi, R-E-S-Y, please download it if you live in New York. You know, that's something, I know, we're working on it, I saw that. And Brave, which is a high-end TV consulting company, and Faithbox, which plays in the Birchbox, you know, BarkBox space around religion. So I'm getting myself into stuff, and I'm definitely sitting around saying, is this gonna be, am I gonna write a big manifesto about like, this is the second time I failed, it's because I'm trying to do too much? The difference is I think this time I've surrounded myself with much better players, and I've been grooming them for the last 3 years, which is kind of the thesis of VaynerMedia to begin with. But I think we should talk more about failures. I think that there's an unhealthy conversation of like cheering things that don't matter, starting with when you raise money. This whole culture in our space right now, technology and innovation, of like when you raise money, people like cheer for you, like, yay, you raised money. First of all, it's never been easier to raise money. Second of all, that's a bad day. You gave up your equity and now you're on the hook. And the 99% of you that don't accomplish the goal, your brand gets tarnished. And a lot of 23-year-olds are raising money. They think it's cool because they think their downside is, well, if I lose the, I mean, you know how many times I've heard the following? Well, if I lose this money, it'll be good though. I've gotten experience, and what did I really use? I'm still young. I'm like, asshole, you lost your name. Like, you understand that like, we all talk about this and then nobody wants to give you money the next time when maybe you're ready for money? So I think there's a lot of naivete around this. I think failure is super important. I think we're all dealing with failure on a constant basis. Speaking to like cynicism, which I'm super against, I do like talking about optimism, not as a strategy, I'm just optimistic. You know, like I'm just a positive dude because my mom's positive and I took her DNA, thank God, because my dad's a fucking downer. And, you know, I love Sasha, but like, boy, he could have a whole bucket of water and think it's half empty. Give me one drip in a canyon, I'm like, this shit is full. You know, so I think it just comes down to DNA sometimes, but I think failure is a very important part of the process. And I think way too many people play it safe. I'm stunned that failure is not enough of a badge in society, because I really do view it that way. Now, that doesn't mean lose somebody's money because your agenda was to learn on it. It means you give it a college try, and it didn't work out, the market changed on you, stuff happens. That's how I see it.
We have a hard stop. I just want to thank you again, Gary. Gary, a month ago or so ago, just tweeted me out of the blue. He said, I was just thinking of you, just wanted to say hi. That's Gary. He's here for one reason only. He cares. That's it. I asked him.
I care about you. Thanks for having me, guys. I wish you guys all well. Good to see you.